And we now turn to the cattle and beef industry for a primer and for the current markets. To do so, we are pleased to be joined from Nashville, Tennessee, by the founder of Swift Trading Group, Chris Swift, the namesake. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I've been there where you are. Nashville's a great town, and Stagecoach where you are is a great place. So thank you for taking the time. Let's start at ground zero. Give us an overview of the industry in the U.S. first, if you would, Chris, and thanks for being here.
Sure, absolutely. I thank you, Commissioner, for this opportunity. And the beef industry has really benefited greatly from our new increase in employment and wages that we've seen over the last 2 years. The beef industry had grown significantly in inventory since the 2014, 15, and 16 timeframes, and now we're having to deal with some elevated inventory out there. But the increase of wages and consumer discretionary spending has helped to level off some of that selling pressure that we've had in the industry.
When times are good, people buy beef, and that's a good thing for the industry. But let me ask you this. I know it was a few years ago, and Chris, you'll have to excuse me because I don't remember all the years, but I knew we had problems with beef imports into Japan, and I thought into China too. But where are we in terms of countries exporting around the world, countries that produce beef? I think of, Argentina, maybe even Venezuela. I'm not sure. But where are we? Who produces the most beef, and what's the sort of world circumstance with beef?
Sure. The U.S. continues to produce the largest volume of fed cattle. I think Brazil is next, and then the European Union is third. Japan, Taiwan, South Korea continue to be our big importers of U.S. beef, and although Japan still carries some tariffs on U.S. beef, the lack of ability to produce beef in Japan makes for the U.S. a very good client for them. I think that the export market is approximately about 20% of our U.S. domestic usage out there, so we still consume about 80% of what we produce here at home.
I know one of the concerns has been in the past. Back in the day, I worked for Tom Daschle. He was from,
Sure.
I'm sure you know him, but from South Dakota, and a bunch of the ranchers out there had trouble with some of the big packers. I mean, who are the big packers now? I know there's lots of them, but there's some that control a lot of it. Who are those companies now? Is it Cargill or Swift?
Cargill,
not your Swift.
JBS and Tyson. Some of the smaller ones, Creekstone, have come up. Branded beef labels are very popular here in the United States, and so we see those beef labels go out and seek cattle that will meet their qualifications and their standards, and then they will have those produced at some large feed yard out there. And our genetics continue to get better and better in our cattle herd, so what we're seeing more and more is that with our beef out there and the packers' ability now, since they have contracted considerably over the last few years, everything in the industry is a lot leaner than what it used to be.
Well, boy, when you said Creekstone, it reminded me, I think when I was back at the Agriculture Department, we may have made them alone. They were just starting out. I'm glad to know they're still around. But when you talk about those branded products like Creekstone or like Omaha beef, tell us about the markets a little bit, Chris. How are the markets doing?
They've been really interesting here lately. The fat cattle market in the April and June contracts set new contract highs today. We have seen the cash market be pretty steady between the 120 and 124 areas. Feeder cattle market has slipped off just a little bit, trading in the mid 140s right now. And today's pricing is very interesting, again, because of the demand that we have seen from the public. That demand has been able to absorb large amounts of inventory that through 17 and 18, the industry felt it would be very difficult to get through with the contraction in the packing industry. The packer has since expanded some of that kill to approximately 662,000 head a week killed. That is our top end that we can kill right now, and that has been able to move a lot of inventory out of the production side of it. And of course, weather today is a big thing. That's primarily all we talk about right now is how cold it is and who is the most uncomfortable. Is the consumer more uncomfortable than the cow, or the cow more uncomfortable than the consumer? And right now, it looks like the consumer is a little bit more uncomfortable than what the cow is.
Well, that's a great place to end it. Chris, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us. We really appreciate your expertise. We hope you'll come back. That is Chris Swift, the founder of the Swift Trading Group. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
And time now for a brief break. But